He had to prepare himself. He had to prepare himself mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And when he embarked on his vision quest, that is indeed what he did. He offered his final breath for his people. He stayed out on the land for 10 days without food and water and sacrificed himself so that he could give good things to the people. And what came to him was the teaching lodge. Kinobagagan, the teaching lodge that he wanted for his people. Because he knew that times were changing rapidly for his people. He knew that the British colonial settlers were coming in. They were stealing our lands. They were invading our lands. And there was much suffering amongst our people. But he also knew that in order to move forward into the future, that he needed to equip his children with something new. And that was education. He knew that education was going to bring us into the future. And education not only met what the Europeans brought, but more importantly, it meant of who we were. It meant our language, our culture, and our traditions, our stories, and everything that came with it. So Shingwauk embarked on this journey, on this vision quest, and he gave his last breath to the people. Chief Shingwauk created a focused policy for his people in a time of great change. And it was about exercising and asserting our rights on the lands that we occupy, that we hold true to ourselves in the region of the Great Lakes area. He established jurisdiction in our area and exercised our territorial prerogatives over the land and our people. And we govern ourselves accordingly, and that was via the clan system and our relationships that we developed not only within ourselves, within the Three Fires Confederacy, but also with other nations, and as we were moving forward with the settler peoples who were coming onto our lands. And he developed three policies. The first one was to preserve our environment in which Anishinaabe culture, values, and organizational structure would survive, and in which education would be central for our people. It was to devise a new strategy that would promote the formation of First Nation governance, or Ojibwe governance, that would be capable of assuming control over our lands and resources. And it was his leadership and his clear vision that kept in check the British colonial administrators who continued to apply pressure on our people. From stealing our lands and taking it away from our people. He was a keen policy maker, and he was a shrewd political negotiator. Shingwauk's name, when you translate it to English, is Little Pine. And the reason why he changed his name later on in life was because he goes through different areas, goes through different phases of life. As he grew older, he became more recognized as Shingwauk amongst his people. So Little Pine was probably his his biggest achievement when he fought the War of 1812. He established an elaborate system of alliances, both traditional in the Three Fires Confederacy and with British and Americans and the Anglican Church. He also knew that the threat of British colonial encroachment on our lands would push our people and remove them from our lands. And these are one of the reasons why he thought hard of how he was going to protect our people and why he knew that education was going to be key to it. in with regards to the vision of the creation of the Healing Lodge. He knew that the Ojibwe rights and our worldview could be preserved and protected in teaching the future generations our stories, while at the same time learning new skills from British Canada to survive. He knew very well the government policy. He knew the legal barriers, and he knew the pressures of the settler people coming into our area. And as a result of understanding all of that, he was the principal negotiator for the Robinson-Huron Treaty of 1850 that secured certain treaty rights for our people. And one of those treaty rights that he secured for us was education. And education was going to be there for our people. At this time in his life, Shingwauk was probably in his mid-60s, and he's already endured quite a bit in his life, coming through the War of 1812 and trying to, because we live on an international border, trying to deal with various jurisdictions, whether that be American or Canadian jurisdictions. Shingwauk stood proud in the nation. He was a Wabano man. He was Giskanini, and he was also from the Medewan. He was a strong Medewan person. And all of these societies that he belonged to helped them understand more clearly who we are as a people and where we wanted to go into the future. And I think that his connection and his participation and his leadership within the Medewan society is the reason why we are connected very strongly with the Medewan Lodge from the Bad River, Wisconsin area, which our Grand Chief is the chief of. And it was through the understanding of these different, with it being within the Medewan society, that he was able to connect with the Great Spirit and with creation, and how our relationships were with other Ojibwe peoples. He also knew the failure of government to recognize the jurisdiction of our homelands, and knew that, again, bringing this vision of a teaching lodge was important for our people. He knew that the struggle for Anishinaabe rights and to protect our worldview continues, and that was part of Shingwauk's legend, his legacy, and why Shingwauk Kilomagigimik exists today. We maintain our positive relationships today with our partners at Algoma University. We are able to sit with Algoma University and enter into a covenant, a relationship with the Western Society Post-Secondary Institute, along with Shingwauk Kilomagigimik, that created a system of how we're going to work with one another and how we're going to address Anishinaabe culture and education. And there may be other articulation agreements that are out there with other universities and First Nations organizations across Canada, but we believe we have the first covenant in our area. And the covenant is modeled after the two-row wampum, where both Algoma University and Shingwauk Kilomagigimik are independent. However, we agreed to work with one another side by side to ensure that we fulfill student educational needs. We also have a strong relationship, as I mentioned, with the Medewan Lodge and the Three Fires Confederacy. And that is core to what we do, essential to a lot of the curriculum that we're putting together. We have strong support with our elected leadership from the Union of Ontarians, the Anishinaabe Nation, in which the 43 chiefs from the various communities have signed the first law from our organization respecting Shingwauk as a post-secondary institute. And we didn't go to any federal agency, we didn't go to any provincial agency to beg for them to recognize us. We went to our own people and asked them to recognize us. And the leadership stood up with us and said that this is the right thing to do. So this is the first law that we have. It's the first law that the Grand Council has passed recognizing Shingwauk. And part of our struggle, our efforts that we do is that getting accreditation, right? And that's why we're here today. And we've entered into many dialogues with the federal government where they have the ability to provide a federal charter. But they have no appetite to do it. We've engaged the provincial government, who is responsible for post-secondary education, for accreditation and degree granting authority, and they tell us it's going to take 10 to 12 years because we have to jump through all of their hoops and hurdles in order to stand as they want us to stand. And Shingwauk does not want to be like them. We want to be different because we want our children to learn the truth of who they are, where they belong, and what their purpose in life is, their role and responsibility, and all of what is told to us starting from the creation story of our people. So, Shingwauk is about our children. It's about our grandchildren. It's about our great-great-grandchildren. And it's about those children who are not yet born yet. And we feel it in our heart that that is what Shingwauk talked about as well. He wanted to ensure that his children had a place in the world and that they had quality education. And that quality education was cultural based as well. So we know that the little time that we've been able to put together what it is that we do at Shingwauk in our Anishinaabe studies classes and our Anishinaabe language classes, that we've seen a remarkable difference in our young people. People who did not know a sense of belonging, did not know the stories of the people, and we see them, what we've seen is a burst of pride and confidence and a sense of belonging, and wanting to know more about who they are. And it fills our heart because it's such a beautiful thing. So beautiful to see the brightness of our young people. It also fulfills our young people, but it also bridges, it creates a bridge between other cultures as well, because we have non-Anishinaabe people, young students in our classes as well. And they come from all over the world. And when they understand the true history of our people, it creates good fellowship amongst all of our students. And rather than racism and discrimination, we see a bonding with all of these young people in our classes. And it is through them that everyone wants to carry the work out. They join us in wanting to do the work. And it's different than the legacy of the residential schools, the day schools that one of our people attended. Where language was taken from us, where culture was beaten from us, and where all the atrocities that occurred to our people, where Shingwauk has turned that around. Where one student told us how she felt Shingwauk was, it's a place where I feel safe. I feel safe here at Shingwauk. And that's what Chief Shingwauk wanted as well. We've been at this since 1994, picking up Shingwauk's vision. His vision is over 150 years old. And every day some of us are descendants of Shingwauk, but we also work with the elders in the community who are descendants of Shingwauk as well. We told them that we were coming here this week, and they were happy and pleased that we're doing this because they too see that this is indeed the fulfillment of Chief Shingwauk's vision. It was never ever to go to the provincial government. It was never ever to go to the federal government to seek recognition. It was to come here. It was to come here to be amongst our family of all the first peoples of this country, of this world. This is what he wanted us to do, and this is why we were here. But we have much more work to do. There's still a lot of work for us to do as well, to get over many barriers, but also to achieve more success with good students. And we're very proud. We're very